And I realized that there's a hot weather and everybody's feeling very hot. But this is the thing to help them. And the next speaker that we have is the director of the Institute of Contemporary Islamic Thought and on the editorial board of Crescent International. He is also the author of several books. And I will invite Mr. Zafar Bungash to speak with you. And
Nare Takbir! Brothers, and I extend to you greetings of peace. Although, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters, the Rohingyas, have no peace. They have no security of life. They have no means of livelihood. They have been terrorized. They've been persecuted. They've been massacred by the tens of thousands. You have already heard Brother Anwar give a very comprehensive background to the history of the sufferings of the Rohingya people. I'm not going to repeat those things. I'm going to talk to you about a few other issues. In recent years, there has been a lot of propaganda in the Western world and in their media that Burma, or Myanmar as it's now called, has moved from military dictatorship towards democracy. Now, if this is what democracy looks like, that it slaughters innocent people, that it burns children alive, that it burns people's villages, that it starves them to death, then we don't really know exactly what the military dictatorship would have been like. You know, there is this Burmese opposition leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, who has been projected as a poster girl for human rights and democracy in Burma. She suffered house arrest for many years, but in June, when she went on her European tour and to speak about or to deliver her Nobel Peace Prize, that she had not been able to do so when it was given to her because she was under house arrest, she did not utter a single word. This so-called human rights champion, she did not utter a single word in support of the Rohingya Muslims. In fact, when she visited Britain, a number of British journalists confronted her about this issue, and all she had to say was, well, this is a question of citizenship. Can you imagine a person that claims to be a human rights activist, and that person is not even prepared to accept 800,000 Rohingyas as citizens of Burma who have lived there for centuries? I also have very deep concerns not only about the Burmese or the Rohingya or the Myanmar regime. It is a fascist regime, but I also have very serious concerns about the Dalai Lama, who is the spiritual head of the Buddhist people around the world. Why is it that the Dalai Lama has not spoken out against the atrocities against the Rohingya people in Burma and Myanmar? You know, we are told that the Burmese people are peace-loving people. I don't wish to condemn all of the Buddhist people. I'm sure there are good people among them. But if there are, then we need to hear them. If there are people that think that they are peace-loving, then why is it that that peace and love and affection is not extended to the Rohingya people in Myanmar? Why don't these Buddhists speak out? And why is it that the Buddhist monks in Myanmar are involved in the genocide of the Rohingya people? Brothers and sisters, I also want to address this issue of the attitude of Western governments, including our own here in Canada. You know, for decades, Myanmar was under sanctions because it had military dictatorship and it prohibited or curtailed the rights of the people of Burma. Just quite right. And yet, now Western governments are falling over themselves to go and shake hands with Thein Sein, this mass murderer of the Rohingya people. This man is a military man. He's not a civilian. True, he has become a so-called president, but why is it that the foreign minister of Canada would go and shake hands with a man whose hands are drenched in the blood of innocent people? We also need to ask, how is it that Hillary Clinton, that frequent flyer all over the world, she went to Vietnam and she met Thein Sein and she said they wanted to make deal with the Burmese regime. And why is it that she did not raise any issue about the murder and the massacre and the slaughter and the ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya people? It seems to us that obviously when people, particularly governments in the West, are running after their financial and economic interests, then they are quite willing to sacrifice the lives of tens of thousands of innocent people. We consider that to be unacceptable. We consider that to be against human dignity and human rights. Yes. And we also have concern about some of our own Muslim governments, starting with the government in Bangladesh. If there are any sisters from Bangladesh, this is not directed against you, but it is directed against the government in Bangladesh that is denying the Rohingya people shelter who are escaping persecution from massacres in Burma. We demand that the Bangladeshi government open its borders to the Rohingya refugees. We demand that the Bangladeshi government open those refugee camps to relief organizations to deliver food and water and clothing to those oppressed people. You know, only a few days ago on the British Channel 4 there was a documentary. Their reporter went secretly inside Burma into that area where the Rohingyas have been massacred, and he showed that there were houses on fire. And these are, of course, houses that belong to the Rohingya people. So he asked one of the Buddhist residents over there as to who has set fire to these homes. And you know what that Buddhist man said? It is on television, you can see it. It's on the YouTube. He said the Rohingya people set fire to their own homes so that the wind would blow this fire and it will set our homes on fire. Can you imagine this kind of idiotic nonsense being put out by people that call themselves Buddhists and peace-loving people? But we also have issue with a number of Muslim governments. You know, about 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It used to be called the Organization of Islamic Conference previously. A number of heads of state got together in Mecca. Why is it that they did not raise the issue of the plight of the Rohingya suffering Muslims in Mecca? Why is it that the king of Saudi Arabia would give billions of dollars to the rebels in Syria to kill innocent people, but he would not give a penny to the Rohingya Muslims that are being slaughtered? So my brothers and sisters, we face very serious challenges. We face challenges within Muslim governments. We face challenges with Western governments. We face challenges with the Western media. And that puts a very serious onus on your shoulders. Because by you coming out here on this hot and humid day, you have expressed your solidarity with the people of the Rohingya of Burma. But I think you must keep in mind that this should not be the last time that you are coming out. In fact, we should seriously think about organizing a rally to be held in Ottawa. So that we can raise our voices outside the Parliament building. So that we can shame Canadian politicians to speak out if they really believe in human rights and human dignity. The Rohingya people are no less humans. You know, last week there were 50 or so people that were protesting about the mistreatment of animals in Canada's Wonderland. Animals. That's okay. We don't begrudge proper treatment of animals, but what about the proper treatment of human beings?
Yes.
What about the proper treatment of children and women and old men?
Yes.
How is it that people can be so blind that they wouldn't see that human beings and human life that should be cherished and protected is being violated, being desecrated? Children are being killed, women are being killed and raped, old men are being killed, their homes are being burnt, and yet they worry more about their animals, but they don't worry too much about human beings. It seems to me the world has got its priorities upside down. But we have to force the right kinds of priorities. We have to make sure that the Rohingya people are not forgotten. We have to make sure that we force our government to take action.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that we impress upon our government that instead of chasing dollars, and instead of chasing contracts, instead of chasing money, that they should be concerned about the rights of human beings. That is what makes Canada a good and great country, not chasing dollars. So we need to urge our government, and we need to urge our fellow Canadians, that let us restore those Canadian values of decency, humanity and compassion, not of greed, of exploitation, of capitalism and rapacious extravagance. It is very, very important that we stand next and shoulder to shoulder with our brothers and sisters from the Rohingya brothers and sisters from Myanmar. And I want to conclude with this. I want to give you my assurance, my respected brothers and sisters from Myanmar, the Rohingya brothers and sisters, that we will do whatever it takes to continue to speak about your plight, to continue to join our voices with your voices, and to continue to raise this issue of this human tragedy and bring it to all the necessary forums in the world so that justice would be done, so that these people's persecution would come to an end, so that decency and dignity would be restored to these people. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.